much for being here with me. I started to say this is one of the most difficult potential presentations that I have to do. I think I also, yes. The H-1B cap season is always a difficult process for the foreign nationals, for the employers, and for us. It is a crazy way of selecting talent, but it's the system that we have. And for many of you, in fact, this year, we probably had the highest, well, we did have the highest election in the last 3 years. In part, probably because of the different perspective that this new administration has taken on immigration. But it in a way has benefited some, and who knows, we will see where this goes. I added to the title options, mindset, and next steps, because I believe all of those are going to be part of this presentation. So let's go to the next slide, Danny. And again, thank you to all of you for being here and sharing ideas with me to keep this going forward. As I just did, actually, and I forgot that this was here as part of the presentation, take a deep breath first. And I just did that. I'm doing that a lot lately. Just don't let the emotions take over. Take a deep breath, in particular for all of you and us. The fact that we were not selected in this lottery is certainly not the end of the story. It is a pivot. And as many of you know, I'm an immigrant myself. I've made many pivots in my life and in my career. And when one door closes, potentially another one opens. And that's what I have to believe for all of us. So we're going to talk about what are your best next steps. If you probably Google, wasn't selected on the lottery, what options are there? There are some attorneys that have list of 30. And yeah, for some way, maybe one of you can use one of those unique ones. For the majority of you, there is very few, and I'm going to talk about those best options. And of course, for some of you, there may be some of those unique ones. So I'm not giving you all the ideas here because I just can't. Each one of you has your own kind of background and situation. But I'm going to give you the best or the ones that are most commonly used, and then we'll go from there. What to watch out for, because you also, with these options, there are pros and cons. And then tips to stay in power. Literally this morning, before I got started on this presentation, I was responding to a client email, doing the research to respond to a client email about student issues and I-20s or SEVIs being terminated. And so there is a gamut of issues out there. So staying in power is staying positive amidst the chaos is also part of the things that we all need to do. Then Q&A, resources. And one thing that I put in here, you're going to hear me say this a few times during the presentation, resilience is in your DNA. I know I have employers in the presentation. I also have foreign nationals. And I believe one of the biggest strengths that foreign nationals have, and I don't say this I say in a positive way, in order to immigrate to another country, in order to adapt to the new culture, whether it's the United States or anywhere else in the world, adapt to the new culture, become, it requires resilience. So it's in you to overcome whatever comes your way. So I have confidence that, there's options out there for you. Okay, next. You're only going to be with me for potentially 45 minutes to 60 minutes. So this is for you. I mean, we're taking the time to give you this content, to save you time, to give you some peace of mind. So be with me as best as you can. And almost as I started saying before, just a little bit, every case is unique. I want you to interact with me on the chat, but try to interact in a general sense. Hopefully the questions that you're going to give me are questions that are going to help others in the presentation. I really cannot answer in a context like this, things that are very, very specific to you. So keep that in mind, okay? Many of you know me, some of you don't know me. I've been practicing corporate immigration for over 20 years. I've kind of dedicated a big portion of my life to what I do here. Danny, it went fast. It went a little bit too fast forward. I'm a two-time immigrant from Cuba to Canada, Canada to the United States. I've been there. I've been where you are. In order to balance everything that comes our way, and actually I was talking to another client earlier this morning that I said to them, I as an attorney, we have a lot of choices as to what area do we practice. I've chosen this area of law because I know of the huge impact that we can make in the world and helping you, helping your employers, helping others. So it's we want to do what we're doing. Foreign talent strategies, I put this in here because we're more than just your attorneys. It really requires a strategy in order to do what we're doing for you and make the best decisions. And I'm also going to share with you, I just published my second book last week, The Corporate Immigration Advantage, and you may hear more about that as we evolve this year. All in all, everything that we do is to make immigration easier for you. Okay. Next slide. All right. One of the things that I wanted just to see how we're doing as a group, do me a favor. This is your opportunity to use the chat and drop in a number based on how you're feeling right now. Okay. How are you feeling about the future ahead? You can do it. You can do a number one, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart in front of me. Or you can do a 10. Yay, we got this. So, or you can do emojis, whatever you want. So let me see. There's 17 of you here. Give me a sense of where you're at. All right, good. All right, that's not too bad. Okay, a few more. Okay, awesome. I love the hands up, positive. Okay, many of you in the middle. All right, so my goal, hopefully, again, as we go through this, is to give you confidence, peace of mind, a road ahead, hope ahead. Okay, next slide. My why, quite often is what drives us as to what we do. And again, for you all, I want you to know that my why is I care. I care about your journey just as much as I care about my journey. I've lived it. I've devoted my career to it, and I believe in you more than anything. I believe that you're all here in this country because we need you here, because you want to be here, and you're hope to the future of this country. So I believe in you, and we do everything that we have in our power to do to help you continue to grow and develop in this country and contribute positively. Next. All right. So here are top options. And for many of you, it's going to be going back to school in some fashion. This is a summary, and for some of you, if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. We're probably going to send you a screenshot of this or have it as an attachment into the replay of the webinar that will go out. But the main options as a student, you have CPT, curriculum practical training, and there's two types. It's the one that is a traditional CPT, and some of you may have used that already. And then there's the day one CPT, both different in their own ways. I have more resources on that later because some of you, again, that may be the path. Some of you may be completing your OPT and have the option to go into a STEM OPT. A STEM OPT to me is a gift. I'm going to still remember the day when that became available because STEM OPT has not been there at the beginning of my career. STEM OPT did not exist. And this is something that has been fought. It even went to the Supreme Court to establish that, yes, we were able to offer, the government was able to offer this to you because there were organizations out there lobbying for this to be taken away and to only provide OPT, which, as many of you know, is only 1 year. And a STEM OPT for certain professions or degrees that qualify, you get the extra 2 years. So it's huge. It's 3 years where you could potentially continue to be entered into the lottery and work. So for those of you, of course, if you have the STEM OPT, that it will be your best option. If you go do another level of studying, so some of you may decide to just go back to school without, just literally going to a master's degree or something like that. And that is also still part of your F1 kind of path. Okay, next. I think the next one, yeah, so I kind of cover this. One cautionary note in here, be cautious of the programs that promise too much, particularly if you're considering the CPT path, that they want CPT, which basically is a fast track to CPT. The traditional CPT, you have to have a 1 year of studies before the school allows you to go into CPT. The day one CPT, I say a fast track, because basically you're allowed to start working within the first year of studies. But there are many programs out there that are not well developed. They have been audited and whatnot. You really have to do your due diligence if you are going to go into one of those programs. I don't have any recommendations for you. Your best recommendation could be others that that have been, and rarely do I tell you to talk to your friends about something, but this may be one where the talking to others that may have been through the program or are going through the program and getting their opinion as to how it's going, and their, the reliance of, the DSOs and the support that they're getting would be important. So again, be cautious on any, particularly the one CPT if that's the route you go. Okay. And planning and timing is essential. And then you can go on to the next slide while I say this, but also just I believe it was last week, which has not happened ever for as long as the CPT program has been available. And I always go, no, it would never happen to any of my clients because you're all so good at keeping track of your own timelines and things that you had to do. But there was one of the 4 nationals that we're working with that emailed us that she forgot to update her CPT or to file what she needed to file timely, so her record was discontinued. And I thought, oh no. I mean, that is huge. I mean, it could affect her whole career going forward. And this is someone that was selected on the H-1B cap. And it's awful. And it's just I mean, who knows? I don't know exactly what she had going on in her life, but it's just failure to file something timely that was so critical for her future. So timelines are very, very important. This is actually, you can take a screenshot or scan the QR code there that Donnie was so kind to put it in the presentation. I didn't have it there when I passed the draft on to her. It will lead you to a webinar that I did. It's short. It's a short presentation that I did with the difference between CPT, the one CPT. So you can, again, get a little bit more information on that program. Okay. All right, next. Okay. I know I have a lot to cover, but I also want I know you came in probably with your own questions. So this is your chance. So come back to me. This is one of those times that I'm going to say, if you're multitasking, come back to me. And please type in the chat. Again, ideally a general question, not something very specific to you. You can direct message me if you want to, but this is your chance, and I will try as we go through the presentation. I have my own little pad here of things that I want to cover. Go ahead and type in the chat questions that you may have. So as you came in today, what was top of mind? Nobody? You're all here. You're either all multitasking or you have answers to all your questions. Or you don't know what to ask. Are you here with me? Mindy, and I appreciate you coming live and actually being here with me. I'm here. Okay, good. Thanks. Okay. That's a good question. Here. Okay, good. Okay, at least I know you're here. If you have questions, again, send them to me. One that I just received, U.S. Congress bill to end OPT and its impact on us. I mean, you're going to hear, and this is why I so value you being here, because I mean, I would not be surprised if many of you are going online and trying to figure out what else to do and what else everybody's saying. And I had a slide that you may have seen if you watched prior presentations, that there were like gators on the side of the road, and the sign said, runners, move to the side of the road or something. And it's like, you cannot just follow everything that you read or hear. You have to take it with a grain of salt, especially right now. Okay. So you are going to see here, Congress wants to do this and the president wants to do this. I'm telling you, some things take a long time in the United States, so much so that, we've had this H-1B cap process for as long as I've been practicing, and it hasn't gone away. And so I would not, especially a bill to NOPT, and particularly what I just said to you literally a minute ago, not even knowing that question was coming. We had lawsuits about ending STEM OPT, and it was, the Supreme Court said no. So OPT has been, it's been rooted in the system even longer than a STEM OPT. So I would be surprised. I can never say never because I've seen things that I haven't seen before. But I don't think right now that would be the biggest thing to be concerned about. Okay, and I hope that helps. Anything else? No other questions on the chat? No other questions from you? Okay, I'm going to move on with what I have here. And then maybe as I go through it, you'll have questions for me. Okay, so we talked about the F1 option, which again, may be the most viable option for many of you. So what else is there if you qualify? For some of you, if you're married to an H-1B worker and that person, so spouses of certain H-1B holders, and every so often we do have, actually, I was on a call with somebody else a few weeks ago. This was even prior to we were going to register her in the lottery, but this was going to be her last year because her STEM OPT was ending. So we actually took the call even before, and thank God she was selected. So this became a non-issue. But as we were going through her options, she mentioned that she was married to an H-1B visa, H-1B holder, and he had an I-140 approved. And we were like, oh, okay, well, here's our solution. She could apply for an H-4 and an employment authorization document. Again, this is a very unique one-on-one situation, but in her case, it would have been a solution. And, we proactively looked at that one before we came into the lottery. Extraordinary ability. I know some of you have already looked into this past. Some of you have gotten an O1 actually between the process. O1s are a good interim solution if you can qualify. I don't do, we do O1s on a regular basis, but my O1s are very, very strong background on documentation and time and engagement. So not to say that is not your case, but we don't do like a whole bunch of O1s just to do a whole bunch of O1s. So for some of you, this may be a consideration. We may not be the best attorney for you to do just on O1 to do on O1. And I do have a concern, in fact, that we had some foreign nationals that had O1s that were selected under the lottery, and those were O1Bs, not O1As. And my recommendation was to move them to H1Bs because the H1B opportunity comes once in a lifetime in a way these days. And the O1 criteria is very discretionary. So today they may be approved, but tomorrow they may not be. And the H1 criteria is much more solid than the O1. And there was a list of things that we sent back to the client saying why we would recommend, following the H1 path, considering that they were selected under the lottery. So just know that the O1 is there, but it requires very specific criteria in order to go down that path, but it may be the only path. So if it is, hey, it may be for you to take. L1s, and we have done a few of these as a kind of a in-between H-1B, but you have to have a company that is related to the company in the United States. So there has to be a strong relationship between the two companies. And the foreign national needs to work abroad for a minimum of 1 year before coming back in L1 status. Extensive documentation, significant work, but again, for some it's an option. And then the TN for Canadian and Mexican citizens with very limited professions. Now, again, none of these options are like open and available to everybody. If that was the case, it would have been the first choice for us to suggest to you and not the H-1B cap. The H-1B cap continues to be the first choice for many, many reasons, for the stability, for the broadness of the qualifications. Again, many reasons as to why it is the first choice. And if it doesn't work out, like in this case, then we start looking at what other options are there. Okay, next. Also even now less common to some degree, but viable. Every so often, we do concurrent H-1Bs, which means if you are in the capacity to, and actually, as I look through our roster this year, we may have 2 or 3, and that it's not going to affect them on this necessarily, but we do have some clients that, in addition to working for our employers, they're also working for a university teaching or as a teaching assistant. So in those are some that are already in H-1B status. So it's not necessarily that rare, but it could happen that you have the opportunity to teach at a university. It has to be not any. It has to be considered a cap exempt entity. And some universities are, some universities are not. But in general, institutions of higher education, colleges, universities fall into that category that they're cap exempt. So what could happen is you work, the institution of higher education needs to obtain an H-1B for you, and you work part-time teaching to some degree or teaching assistant, and then the employer can file a concurrent H-1B to that H-1B. Again, it sounds simpler than it actually is, but I'm just giving you the broad options. Very strict criteria, and must maintain dual roles. So if you drop the teaching role, then the H-1B for the employer goes away. So very strict, but an option for some. Another one that we get every so often, in fact, I think we had maybe 1 or 2 that were not selected last year, that are going through the marriage-based process now, that we took on the marriage-based process. We don't do that a lot. We do it in very limited circumstances. And this is one of them we're doing right now. So they were committed in a committed relationship. They were going to marry the US citizen, and they had not been selected under the lottery twice. And they said to us, hey, we're considering this. What do you think? And they got married. We filed the marriage-based petition. Actually, I think the foreign national, we just received, I think, their marriage-based interview that is coming up notice. So it is possible. Again, the relationship has to be genuine, well documented. It also has to be timed carefully, but it's an option. And then for some of you, you may just say, hey, it's a time for a reset. It's a time for a break. I'm going to go home and see where do we go from here. And that is an option also. No, do you have a grace period of 60 days after the F1 ends? You cannot work during that time, but you are allowed to, be in the United States and do the things that you need to do. Now, that's something else that has evolved before. Sometimes it used to be 10 days, then it went to 30 days, and now we have 60. So now that it's a huge amount, and not that it's necessarily an option that you may want to take, but whatever, it's better than it used to be. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, so those, again, less common, but for some of you, it may be viable. So just keep all of this in mind. Again, I haven't covered everything, but these are the ones that over the years, just kind of keep coming back when we're doing this work. Next. Okay, I'm actually surprised I did not get this question in the chat yet. Is anyone wondering if there's going to be a second lottery? Let me know in the chat. Have you considered that? Well, I got a few yeses there very quickly. All right, so maybe, yeah, this is what I want you to understand is kind of how the timeline works. Okay, so between now and June 30th, this is the H-1B cap filing period. So for those that were selected under the lottery, and that is what we're doing behind the scenes, we are preparing those H-1B caps so that they get filed timely. And I did hopefully approve soon too. After July, USCIS is going to have to look and see based on, so this is what happens. Some people get selected in the lottery and they don't file for some reason or another. Or they get selected and the filing gets rejected. Or they get selected and the filing gets accepted, but then it gets denied. So this is how we get into a potential second lottery. That there's many things that happen with those people that register and were selected that at the end of the day, they end up not taking one of those H-1Bs. Even though USCIS typically selects a little more than the 85,000 that need to be selected. So I have no idea what formula they used, they're using, but for whatever for the last 3 years, we have gotten a second lottery, very small. Okay, so I always tell you all and during these presentations that if it happens, that is awesome. And I hope if it happens, is large enough to get an H-1B for each one of you. But the reality is, when it happens, I think we had maybe 3, 4, or 5 selected last year. So, and we were extremely happy for them, and they were too. But you cannot count on that. If it happens, it happens, and it's a bonus. So you really have to start thinking right now, what other options do I have? Okay. Stay alert, stay hopeful. We will not know typically until after July 8th. And after July, like I think a few years back, it was August when they announced it. A few years before that, I think it was almost like in September. But between April and June, pretty much they're concentrated, they meaning USCIS, into assessing what is being filed. And then they'll decide what they can do next. Okay. All right, next. Checking in. How are we doing? Are you still with me? I mean, I know some of you are paying attention because you're giving me those yeses and right away. So give me a number, give me an emoji. How are we doing? Okay, I appreciate that. Even I still with you. Thank you. All right, awesome. Okay, next. Okay, what are we doing behind the scenes? Some of you have reached out and said, or some of our paralegals have reached out. Anyway, communications is, we will be having calls, and I know some of the paralegals have already started talking to you with you on your specific situations. But behind the scenes right now, literally, this is what we're working on. So give us some breathing room to work on, like I said, I think the selection rate for us this year was about 42%, which is not, I mean, we used to have 75%. So those days have been gone for a while, but we have a fair amount of work ahead of us. We want to make sure that our petitions, and this ones are not H1s, but I put them in here just to give you the pictures that I had, to give you an idea of the work that goes behind our petitions. USCIS will be inundated with papers, and impressions matter, presentations matter, and our cases, we go above and beyond so that you shine. That is our job. Our job is to make sure that things are labeled, they're organized, they're neat, the adjudicator doesn't have any issues finding what they're looking for. We have 2 paralegals review these cases before they come to me, and then I do another review. So your paralegal reviews, then we have a second paralegal that reviews that work, and then it comes to me. So we want to make sure, and then the office also before it gets filed, because there's so many check marks. There are so many things that could go wrong. And every time they change the forms, they just change something that really can change another answer. So it is a lot of very, very detailed work. And when you're looking through 50 of them, you really have to pay attention. And for the adjudicators, when they get these documents, if the stuff is not organized, if they have trouble finding it, that's how you get an RFE, a request for additional evidence. That's how you get the cases rejected. So we do our best, and I wanted you to know this, whether it's now, whether it's later, whenever we're working on your files. It is not only is important to us that the documentation that needs to be there is there, and the content, but that it's also really well presented so that you shine. Again, so what I was going with this is what we're doing behind the scenes right now. We are going to be scheduling calls in May. For those of you that are really, don't know, are not sure what to do, but I'm doing this right now so that you start thinking, what are my options? So when we get into a call with you, the options are more limited in terms of what we need to talk about. Okay. All right, next. Okay. Oh, Danny, I tried to edit the slide and I messed it up at some point. But one thing that you may have learned so far that is helpful to you. And again, I'm doing this because I want to make sure that you kind of stay with me. This is it's a lot of information here. So as I move on to the next slide, just think what is helpful so far? What have I learned? Have my 6 moved to a 7? Have my 4 moved to a 5, hopefully? Okay. Next. Okay. I put this here also. So the day 1 CPT video is in this YouTube channel. I can't remember how many videos are there, but there are a lot of videos, a lot of information. So please scan and subscribe. As you know, the more people we have using and subscribing to the channel, the more, the more visibility it has for you and for others. This is just a side thing that I do mostly, again, because I believe it's so important for people to have the right information. So there's short videos in there as to what's the difference between a visa and a status, or what's the difference between an employment authorization document and something else. There is a lot of information, and I want you to get the right information. So please use the channel because it's there for you. And we're continuing to add things. In fact, when you look at the link to this, it will be there. And some of you may have watched the one from last year. So help me, help you, and help others by using it. Next. pro tips to stay in power. And these are for you and for me, because believe me, I am in to some degree every day. I'm just like you. Take a deep breath. I was telling my team, so we had a team meeting this morning, and there are three things, the three main topics that literally we got emails about between Friday and today, and that's just the last 2 days, working days. Friday was the I-20 situation. The I-20 is being revoked. Travel. We're getting a lot of questions about travel. Can I travel? This, the other, what? And so that you know, most likely into the future, once we're done with the H-1B cap, I will be doing a webinar on travel for foreign nationals and, the things to be aware of. Sadly, one of the ones that emailed us Friday is someone that is here on an H-1B. It's from one of those countries that is, being looked at. He is super smart, engineer, very, very, very talented, doing the right thing. And he's emailing us like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. I don't know if they're going to stop me. If they stop me, what are they going to, ask me? And I'm like, oh, can I travel? And, it bothers me that they have to live that way. So we'll do a travel thing. And the other one that I will potentially do something about is worksite visits. So again, these tips are for you, are for me. Breathe, pause. We are not out of options. We live in a country that has tons of opportunities for all of us. That's why we're here. So let's think positive and take advantage of those options. And one of them is like you are here with me, learning and being engaged. Keep key documents handy. This is one of the things that clients that are telling us about their concerns. Valid passport, you're valid at a 94, valid I-20 if that's what you have, employment authorization document. Have copies of those documents, keep them handy just in case you need them. Explore return to school options with care and the right timing. I should say care, due diligence. Again, for some of you, that will be the best option. Apply for a STEM OPT if eligible. Another tip here that it may be in the slide before with OPT and STEM. If some of you are considering going back to school for a second degree, say you have a bachelor's degree now and you're going for a US master's, consider a US master's degree that that is ideally designated as a STEM degree if that interests you. And the category and the list of designated STEM degree programs has increased and has continued to increase over the last few years. So more programs have been added. And the value of that is, again, you may be more marketable because the STEM degrees and people that can manage a STEM related issues continues to grow. But you may also have the advantage of the 3 years of OPT. So if you are having to make a decision, do not go for an MBA. And I say that literally because MBAs are not recognized by USCIS as a specialty occupation, and that's a topic for a different conversation. But just again, STEM is good, and stay connected. We are here to help you. That's our main goal. Next. All right. Whoops. Back to my beautiful. I love hiking. And when I saw this picture, I was like, okay, this is the end of my presentation. You've come this far. Again, I know for all of you, this has been a long trajectory. I've been there, so I'm saying it from my own personal background. I know how difficult this is. So you've come this far, you keep going. Resilience is your DNA. We've got you as best as we can. We're here to help you. We believe in you. Yes, that's photo. It is Southern Utah. Yes. I loved that hike. So yeah. That's it. Any questions for me? It's a difficult conversation. Difficult because I really wish there would be more options for you that are like readily available, but you've come this far. I mean, I'm saying foreign nationals or your employers that are here and supporting you, they're here learning to see what else can be done. And I so value their engagement. So thank you for being here with me. Stay positive. There are options out there. Just sometimes they're harder to find than others. Okay. Is there a grace period after the I-20 expires if the F1 expires before the I-20? Don't know. The F1 should not expire before the I-20, so I'm not sure, Giovanna. That may be something that you may have to show us the document to see what you're talking about, because your F1 goes with your I-20, as far as I know it. So just send us the documents that you're referencing. So basically, you have a 60 days grace period after the expiration of your F1, but again, your F1 goes with your I-20 typically. Okay. Anything else, everybody? All right. Thank you all for being here. Stay in touch. More is coming. There seemed to be an increase but still. Mindy, thank you. Yeah, and that is a very specialized service that I get questions about because people need apostilles and I don't do them. So yeah. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.